last time. I will call it the Sears Tower, by the way, while practicing a musical technique from Kazil in Tuva, known as double note throat singing. I will attempt it in the Sigit, or the bird song style of Tuvan throat, as opposed to, say, the more common or the frog style of Tuvan. On our right now, the old Chicago Central Post Office, Graham Anderson, Robson White, 1921. Movie fans might remember it better as the Gotham City Bank and The Dark Knight, the latest Batman movie shot here in 2007. That barbed wire went in this summer when they were using it as a set for Transformers 3, the latest robot movie by Michael Boom Bay. But why on earth did we need such a gigantic building to handle the mail back in 1921? Well, I'll argue that the modern mail-order catalog business was pretty much invented in Chicago by that friend of the farmer, A. Montgomery Ward. Wasn't a farm kitchen table in America back in the 1800s and have a big old Montgomery Ward catalog sitting on it? Probably another catalog out back as well. Now, Montgomery Ward was followed by Sears and a lot of mail went down those halls, man. Even without those mail offices, I bet Chicago still would have built a giant post office. Chicago's always kind of been the great American city of exaggeration. You're like a little kid with a chip on the shoulder. You do something big, Chicago will give you the biggest. 1921, that old post office, largest on earth, 2.7 million square feet. Booyah! But elevators slow down the ball. The post office wants to consolidate more operations on single floors, so in 1994, Knight Associates built them this more streamlined headquarters. The old building is abandoned in 1995. It achieves landmark status. Last year, they sell it at public auction for $40 million. The high bidder renegotiates a better price, and now we have to wait and see. I'm enjoying the rumors. So far, I've heard the old post office is either going to be turned into A hotel, B, an auto mall, or C, my personal favorite, a gambling casino in the heart of Chicago, and a state which does not allow gambling on land. We'll have to wait and see. On our left, look at the skyline drop off because we're behind the business district of Chicago Loop. And you know what? The business district is a finite amount of land. You have borders. The river is northern border, the lake is eastern border, south and west railroad tracks, and if you were in business, you wanted to be where the action was downtown. Well, let's look at it this way. Let us think back for a moment, way back. Think back before cell phones, before email, and dare I say it, before text messaging. Remember when business is the art of the handshake, the deal? You met your customer not Facebook to Facebook, but face to face. You had two people in the same room. OMG, can you even imagine this? LOL. And that meant that anybody in business wanted to be right downtown. They didn't care if we stacked them up like fire, we could do it. We had no choice in Chicago. Necessity was truly the mother of invention here. Couldn't sprawl out, we kept going up. He's not from Chicago, but let us tip our hats to Mr. Otis. Remember, without Mr. Otis and his elevator technology, we'd all still be on the ground floor, no matter how tall you really was. Now, River City on our left, 1986, Hugh West, the architect, right? The Cruise and the Curve. Bertrand Goldberg, who did those corn-cob-shaped arena city towers. As much sculptor as architect, expressionistic in his work, Goldberg, a modernist who thought outside the box, rejects his teacher responder over his peers in their boxes, writes in his journal, I am a rebellion against the straight line. I refuse to remake humanity in the image of a machine. So instead, look what he does. And he takes this, inspired by the image of a snake. The image of a snake, in this case, a river snake. There's actually going to be 5, and then we're going to be 5 buildings, starting here, expanding all the way down to the next grid. We never got to quite do that. You know, Bertrand Goldberg was a free thinker. He always marched to his own drum. For that reason, I'll put him on the same plane as the great Antonio Gaudí. Many people see a similarity in the process. Now, on our right, can you get a quick picture of that radio tower? You're going to see a squat building. It's a little hazy and sunny, but you'll notice the eastern wall is orange. That's the Chicago Fire Academy over on DeKoven Street. And where do you think they built the Fire Academy, don't you know? It's right on top of Catherine O'Leary's farm there. That's where the great Chicago fire started when supposedly that ornery cow Daisy kicked over a kerosene lantern, the tiny building to the left of the tower. But I must tell you something. Forgive the cow. Yes, that was the O'Leary farm in 1871. Yes, the great Chicago fire started right over there by that tower. But Daisy the cow was framed. They set her up. Nobody really knows how the great Chicago fire started. My personal favorite theory, meteor shower. The cow story was made up. 2 newspaper reporters, they admitted it. They made up the story and blamed the cow to sell more newspapers. Back then, it turns out the press was more about entertainment than reporting the truth, not like today. but the fire definitely started right over there. And now get your cameras ready. Yes, it is the tallest building in America, the fifth tallest in the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the building originally known as the one, the only, the The Sears Tower, now the Willis Tower. 1,451 feet, 1,727 if you count the antenna. The construction technique is known as a bundled tube system. Think of the building like a bundle of sticks wrapped together with string. It's made up of 9 contiguous or touching steel tubes, each is 75 foot square. As they ascend, 2 will terminate at 50 floors, 2 at 66, 3 go up to 90. The final 2 take that building 110 stories. Observation deck you can actually visit on floor 103. Why terminate the different sections? Strategic. Reduce the mass of the building as you go higher to deal with a possible 80-mile-an-hour Chicago wind cutting across it. And you know, just as the great Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu would write in the Tao Te Ching so many, many years ago, one must learn to be flexible, bend, and yet remain straight. I myself consider this building as following the Tao. For do you realize this building has the ability to bend and yet remain straight? Gale force winds cannot topple it. It can happily sway 3 feet left to right. It was the tallest building in the world, 74 until 1996. We lose the title to Petronas Towers of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Twin office towers shorter in floors than the Sears Tower, but taller by putting 25-foot spires on their roof. Their combined height, 1,483 feet. Petronas Towers held the title until 2005 when Taipei 101 of Taiwan went up to 1,671 feet. That's a beautiful building as well, both of those are. Now Taipei held out until 2007 when suddenly the hottest area for rebuilding on the planet became Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. The Burj Dubai was just renamed the Burj Khalifa of Dubai. They have to change all the t-shirts in the gift shop. And they added height this year. The Burj Khalifa is now 2,717 feet, tallest on the planet, and it's not in Chicago. Do not fret and do not cry. For who was architect of the Burj Khalifa of Dubai? Of course it was a Chicago guy, Adrian Smith of the NBC Tower and the Trump Hotel. That's why you can take your skyscraper out of Chicago, but never truly take Chicago out of the skyscraper. Oh my, my. Say hello to Ceres, the Roman goddess of grain, perched atop the 1930 Art Deco Chicago Board of Trade. In 1980, world-class architect from Germany, Helmut Jahn, does a postmodern annex. Postmodernism, a reaction to the modern movement. A decade after Mies van der Rohe passed on, so many imitators, glass and steel boxes bored people to tears. The postmodernists began reaching into the past for design ideas, but they were not about to give up the simplicity and economy of modern materials. So here we have postmodern Art Deco. Look how Jahn recapitulates the pyramid roof, the dramatic setbacks, adds a sculptural element at the trading floor. And then for a bit of Jungian synchronicity, take your thumb and forefinger. Can you isolate the annex alone in your field of vision? Curious how the entire building resembles a hood ornament from the automobiles of the 1930s, which was the heyday of Art Deco, the style of the original building again. We are constantly fighting entropy in Chicago, sandblasting, working on these bridges every year. Occasionally, a really big job. You see what's going on here. The entire infrastructure of the Congress Parkway is now being replaced. Also postmodern is the Trump Tower, right in front of the Sears Tower, 311 South Rocker, Tony Brothers in the box, which in 1990 was the tallest concrete reinforced structure in the world for a short while. Castellated Gothic, its most distinctive feature is the crown, a 10-story high drum of modern fluorescent light with 2,000 lamps inside. Illuminated against the night sky, you will hear Chicagoans call this the White Castle. Do we call it that for elegance or for longing for medieval past? No, it's a longing for sliders, White Castle hamburgers. When you see it lit up, it looks like that famous Midwestern restaurant chain with a similar neo-Gothic facade. I am not making a silly joke. There's a connection. The White Castle restaurant logo and the crown of 311 South Wacker were both modeled after a famous Chicago building downtown called the Water Tower. Built in 1869, this standpipe for the water pumping station, today a visitor center. Visit the Water Tower at Chicago Michigan Avenue. You see it stood right in the path of the Great Chicago Fire and remained untouched. Today it is a symbol of Chicago's hope. One more story about the Willis Sears Tower. As you gaze up at the tallest building in America, imagine you are French. Your name is Alain Robert, but we want the world to know you as Spider-Man. Alain Robert is the French climber, the daredevil. He came to our Sears Tower August 1999. No ropes, no nets, no climbing equipment. One little hook on his belt in case he got tired. Amazing, n'est-ce pas? And then a little over 2 hours, like a little monkey, Alain Robert would climb 1,451 feet. He lands on top to be welcomed with open arms and closed handcuffs by Chicago police. He is arrested for criminal trespass. And the second charge was even better, such a Chicago thing. They threw in a charge called performing an aerial show without using a net. Oh, he should have went and got a license for that. Every business in Chicago has to have a license. Didn't stop there. He went out to San Francisco, California. He climbed the Golden Gate Bridge. He went home to Paris, the Eiffel Tower, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the Petronas Towers, Taipei and Taiwan, the 101 building. And at the age of 48, I was on his website 2 weeks ago. He is in negotiations with Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Now for a moment, let us consider the mind of building climber Alain Robert, how he views universe. I mean, after all, what is architecture? Could we not simply define architecture as the way we interact with the space that we inhabit? You or I look at a building, we think of the beauty of that building or the uses we might put that building to. Mr. Robert views that very same structure and allows his mind to open to the universe in a new way. To him, that building is simply one thing. It is a new obstacle to help him overcome his greatest fear of heights, which is why he climbs tall buildings to get over it. Should we all go out and climb a building like Mr. Robert? Of course not. I am, however, suggesting it never hurts to try to look at the universe with new eyes. I think of this every day right now as I revisit the works of one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, an architect, philosopher, inventor, outsider, mathematician, you name it, who never thought in less than universal terms on this spaceship Earth. Have you ever been to Disney World? He gave us the geodesic dome. I just put up my first geodesic dome in the Nevada desert 3 weeks ago. If you are a chemist, perhaps you know that the carbon-60 molecule, which takes the shape of a soccer ball, has actually been renamed Buckminster Fullerene in honor of Bucky Fuller. Now, if you don't remember the work of Bucky Fuller and his geodesic dome and his Dymaxion map, just for fun, look them up when you get home. We come to an engineering marvel on our right now, the former Chicago Mercantile Exchange Center. 2 40-story office towers flank the exchange, which originally housed a 40,000 square foot column free trading floor. Ceiling structure fully supported by the load-bearing walls on either end. However, look at the top 34 stories of office space. You got a construction problem. The towers were too heavy. Simply too heavy. So what did they do? They can't deliver them out for that extra space. You have so much weight bearing down. If you had poured those towers straight, they would tilt in. So here's the solution. Alfred Benesch & Company, the structural engineering firm, pulls the floor plates out during the building phase 1/8 of an inch. Starting at the ground, you do this progressively, 1/8 of an inch to the midpoint. And then you reverse the process. You start pushing them in 1/8 of an inch. In other words, you are bowing the towers out very slightly so they look like a giant version of that wonderful toy game, Jenga. What happens now? Natural shifting occurs, and the building, because of the alteration, realigns into a straight line. It's absolutely plumb today. Kudos to Alfred Benesch for solving that problem.